I'm here with Scott Kiser, who is the president of Laser Maintenance Group. And Scott, we were talking about dominoes the other day and how one thing leads to another thing leads to another thing. We've got some laser machine parts, I guess, here. Tell me a little bit about what we're looking at.
Well, this is the output coupler. The laser beam exits this optic. 30% of it actually exits this optic. Of the 30% that comes through, it passes through this shroud that's designed to protect it. This shroud had come off over time. This bolt had backed out or it had gotten hot, and it fell down in front of the output coupler, which created all this damage. As soon as it did that, it blew pieces of this back onto this, which just about ruined it. There's a crack right in here. You can see it. You can also see through the side. You can see the crystal cracking in the inside here. This is a pressure boundary. The laser runs at 1/10 of the atmosphere. So had this imploded, this would have been a half-inch hole straight to atmosphere. It would have seized the roots blower, probably blown up the power supplies. It would have been a catastrophic failure. As the beam reflected off of this, it also caught a water line and melted it right here and sprayed water over some electrical fittings for the shutter that we're able to repair that. But it's funny how everything works. But when as soon as the beam wasn't passing straight through the beam delivery anymore, it hit the inside of the tip. You can see all the different colors in it here. The beam should pass through this hole. It didn't. Instead, it welded the tip shut, which is now I can't get the laser beam out even to the metal, which only a little bit of gas was coming through these perimeter holes. But they caught it pretty quick. As soon as they stopped cutting, they stopped the machine. Rather than start it up, raise the power, slow down, do something. If it's cutting right, everything's okay. But as soon as it quits cutting, something's changed. So stop and look. Had they kept cutting, cracks inside of here would have made it all the way through, and that would have imploded this, and they'd have lost the resonator. Instead, all they lost is a shroud and an output coupler and a tip and a few cents worth of hose and some time. That was the more damaging thing. But at least it was a good lesson to learn that if something changes all of a sudden, stop. If you're blowing your maintenance off and letting it go, the machine's still running, just let it go. It's running slower and slower every day. You're going to end up with something like this where it just quit running all of a sudden. And that's why you do routine maintenance. It's to catch problems like this before they cost you, your resonator.
How would the routine maintenance have caught this?
Chances are this comes off and on as part of the maintenance. If you're doing this right, this should stay on tight. If you're not, it's hard to get to and it's hard to reach, and it's a poor design. And chances are when they put it back on, they just didn't tighten it up good enough. So that's an example of probably wanting to have qualified people. That thing sat there for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 months, and they should be doing their maintenance on this type of machine more often than that. Chances are if you'd have gotten in there on time and done it, you'd have noticed, oh geez, that was loose, and lifted it right off. And then you could have had an opportunity to talk to the guys and say, hey, yeah, I know that's hard to reach, but if you have the right tool, it's a little easier. But I have one tool that sits in a dark corner of my toolbox, and the only time it sees the light of day is to tighten this bolt. And it's really hard to get on there tight.
What would you have recommended in terms of routine laser maintenance? How often would you recommend doing that?
The OEM asks for 1,000-hour maintenances. Some people are running 2 shifts, some people run 3, some people run 1. 1,000 hours would be every 6 months. These guys run 2 shifts a day, but they leave their laser on 2 10-hour shifts, so they run 20 hours out of 24 hours. So they hit their maintenance interval every 6 weeks.
Okay.
But it's just, the machine's still running. We hate to slow down to stop for that. Well, now you just lost. It's not so much the cost of this. This was, relatively inexpensive as far as parts go. It could have been catastrophic, but it's also the time, the 2 days of time that it took to get in there, and then a few hours to fix it, and then bring the machine back up.